Welcome to the Department of Communications internship presentations. My name is Christine Schiffbauer. I would ask you to be a great audience and please silence your phones as we prepare to hear from this week's lineup of interns. Today we have Stephen Trettel, Cole Keller, Tyler Drum, and Chris Barish.
There's no business like show business. In my time with Flying Scooter Productions, I got to work in the entertainment industry and learn all that it had to offer. So you might be asking, what is Flying Scooter Productions? Aside from having the best name out of any business in the Pittsburgh region, they are a full-service creative agency. For the PR people, full service basically just means marketing plus. So marketing plus PR, advertising, marketing, a little redundant, brand strategy, design, and filmmaking. We are also a film studio, and we're going to talk a little bit about that, but first, on to the best part of this internship. The people. So, as you can see, the lady standing on the table trying to be tall, that's Jenny. Next to her is Courtney. If you came to our PR week, you would have met them. They were my bosses. They run Flying Scooter, fantastic people, very talented. I primarily worked with Jenny. She did a lot of the PR/creative sides of things, while Courtney handled a lot of the business and marketing sides. Additionally, we had Max, our graphic designer, and Jenna, who ran our marketing. You have Kayla and Julie, the other interns, who are amazing people. They go to Pittsburgh universities and are great people to get lunch with. So, on to the work. For 90% of my internship, this was the view. I know, it's crazy, it's amazing. It's my laptop. But I had some nice plants to keep me company, and I had a good view out the window. But don't get it twisted, I loved the work that I did through this internship. I loved every second of it in this computer screen. And some of the work that I did could be boiled down into about 5 categories: client/market research, media relations, copywriting, web design, and production assistance. We're going to go through each of those here, starting with the research. Many spreadsheets were killed in the making of this internship. But as you can see, we did a lot of research, kind of underpinned everything we did at Flying Scooter. So I was drafting media lists, I was researching potential clients, I was looking into new software for us to integrate into our operations, and I was looking into potential grants that some of our nonprofit clients could apply for. This was amazing to see how much research underpinned all the work that we did in a corporate setting, the campaign work, all of it was based in research. And it was tedious, but it was so worthwhile. That media list that you see right there had over 250 names, phone numbers, email addresses, social media, and just information about the people to help that pitch land so much better. And a lot of the research I would develop into writing. So I would draft reports and content analyses to send to my bosses to share with them to help them know what was working, what they could do so they could help make decisions. Additionally, I developed press releases and copy for some websites, and all of these projects were so fun to work on. What was the coolest part about this internship was the fact that I got to see a lot of projects from inception to completion. So, for example, Lynch Carpenter is a national law firm that I got to do a media relations campaign for. So that media list you saw was for Lynch Carpenter. I drafted the press release, I pitched the journalists, and I drafted the content analysis to determine what kind of coverage we were getting. Another campaign that we did was for a film that we produced called The Ocean 5 Years. Now, The Ocean 5 Years was going into my internship, they said that's going to be your big project. And so I drafted a number of press releases, I pitched journalists for it, I developed an electronic press kit for it, and I developed the website for this film. So you can see there, you see the raw copy, then you see the drafts that we had. My desk was a mess in that picture because it was all hands on deck, and then you see the final product, that the site which is still up to this day. And I believe you can stream the film on Amazon Prime if you're interested. But web design took so much time and effort. There were like 5 of us working on this project all at once, and my role was more or less the coordinator. So I was developing I was developing the copy. I was making sure everyone had the resources they needed. I was making sure everyone was able to review things at their stages in the process. And so it was this really cool opportunity to get to manage this as we were developing it. And all those skills that you can see on that slide were used in the making of these websites. And it helped me to respect web development so much more as a practice. And that leads to my favorite part of this internship, the media relations. Now, I didn't know anything really about media relations going into this internship. And Jenny pulled me into her office one day and was like, hey, I want you to pitch every major outlet in Pittsburgh about a story for the ocean in 5 years. What do I know about pitching? Nothing. But you know what? I decided to give it the old college try. And you know what I found? I loved it. Aside from some small snaggles, like calling the wrong number many times, and this one instance where someone from a professional network told me to, quote, F off after the call. That was really funny. I had some success with this. I got articles in the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, WPXI News, Business Times, a bunch of different places. And it was really cool to see what that process was like from the PR side when I'd written for the Yellow Jacket so many times. That really confirmed that I love doing this, and this is what I want to do for a living. Now for the black sheep of my work, the production assistants. So early on in the internship, a jewelry manufacturing client for us recruited us to film a promo for them for a new piece that they were displaying. And my role was to be the location scout. So they wanted to film in the south side of Pittsburgh, which is where I grew up. So a lot of the locations we used were places I was very familiar with. I passed that coffee shop every day going to Boy Scouts when I was a kid. So it was really cool to see that. On the actual set, I was kind of in charge of transporting the equipment, making sure the sets were set up, and kind of running the props. And it was an amazing opportunity. We got up at like 5:30 a.m. It was stressful, it was crazy, but it was so cool. And that leads me to some of the challenges, speaking of stress. Number one, the speed. Agency work is so fast, and just learning how to adapt to that speed, learning to hang on every single word, learning to be able to be adaptable in meetings, that was the most valuable skill that I took away from it, and that was one of the hardest parts for me to adjust to. Additionally, the scope of these projects and balancing all of them at once, because I was doing 3 different things that we talked about in one day, so that was incredibly stressful, as was just handling the minutia, the details of everything. It really showed me what agency life was like in the best way and the worst way, and it showed me this is what I want to do for a living. Additionally, some other lessons I learned are to be prepared every day. You don't know what you're going to get into when you go into agency life. Every day, though, you've got to go in and be prepared, because whatever project you're working on, you've got to give it your all, because it could be any different thing. It could be drafting copy, it could be location scouting, it could be meeting with a client, and you never know what that is. But you've got to ask informed questions, you've got to listen when people are talking. What I learned was that just listening to people talking around the office, passively absorbing that information, even if it was for projects that I wasn't on, really helped me in the long run. Also, asking how I can do better every day. Every project, you're your own worst critic. That happens. You can use that. That's a good thing. But what you don't want that to do is to undermine your skills and your natural talents, which the best thing you can do is to ask for more, always be ready to take on another project, and be vocal about your abilities. That's how I got those amazing opportunities that I had. So that's my internship. Or so I thought. Don't clap, don't clap. Or so I thought. Because after I went back to college, Jenny called me and said, hey, we're doing PR for this new film, Clemente. It came out, it won the South by Southwest Film Festival, and we want you to do media relations for it. That was a crazy opportunity. So September, I spent pitching journalists, doing my assignments, sending emails, everything like that. And at the end, I got invited to go to this premiere. And you can see the pictures there. My mom took those. She's in the audience. I invited her too. That was an amazing opportunity. The film was beautiful. We got about coverage from 10 different major outlets in the Pittsburgh market. And at the end of that whole process, Jenny and Courtney invited me to stay on for Flying Scooter as a part-time media relations coordinator. So this internship was amazing. I am incredibly grateful for the opportunities that I had, for the people that I met, for the lessons that I learned. It was a privilege to be a part of. And as I kind of closed out that chapter in the summer, it was so cool to see that a new chapter was just beginning. So that was my internship. Thank you. So questions? Deanna.
Working so fast and with so many different clients, how did you keep all of them straight? Like, how did you keep them to different clients and how did you manage this work?
Funnily enough, I had multiple pages up in Google Chrome, and each project had a different page. And so I would kind of alt-tab between those, as well as keeping track of things by just drafting notes and sending emails to myself. I'm not a person who likes to use a planner, but that was kind of the best way I found it. I'm sure it'll be easier if you are a planner type person. Suppose, yes?
How were you able to manage stress or maybe some anxiety that came along with this, despite you obviously loving what you're doing?
A lot of it came down to just exposure. By doing the work, by learning how to go home, exercising was a big part of it after I came back to kind of begin to my 5 to 9 after my 9 to 5. Learning how to enjoy my evenings and not let work and the stress kind of just go over me even when I wasn't at work. And also learning there's some things you just can't control, you know? And you have to be okay with that. And I, as you might know, am a very high-strung person, so that's kind of difficult. But I did get better at that. Yes, Benny.
I know like the production assistant role is kind of out of your element with just like the video side of things. How
Yeah.
were you able to adjust?
A lot of it was just looking at what other people were doing, taking notes, asking questions, and trying to be there so that if someone who did know what they were doing needed help, I was there. Because there are so many people who are talented with videography, camera work, with editing, things like that. And like I said, my best thing I can do is just to be present, ask the right questions, and be an asset wherever I could.